The room fell silent as the CEO's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Her words weren't just a challenge, they were a dare, echoing across the glass-walled boardroom like a thunderclap. "Fix the company server, and I'll kiss you right now," she said, her sharp eyes locking onto the single dad standing at the far end of the table. Laughter rippled from the executives, some amused, some shocked. He wasn't a tech guy, just a dishwasher, turned maintenance man who'd wandered into a war he didn't start. But little did they know, he was about to rewrite the company's story, and his own. He never imagined he'd set foot in a corporate boardroom. His hands were used to soap suds, not suits. Daniel's life had been a series of closed doors, and working as a dishwasher for the company cafeteria was the last job that allowed him to keep his little girl in school. She was everything. His reason to wake up, his reason to fight through exhaustion every single day. But now, as he stood awkwardly in front of the CEO and her gleaming entourage of executives, he wondered if life had finally gone too far in humiliating him. The day had started like any other: broken plates, endless trays, and the low hum of conversations from employees too busy to notice him, until chaos erupted. The company server crashed, taking with it an entire ocean of data. People ran through the halls shouting, phones buzzing like angry bees. The IT team was nowhere in sight, stuck in traffic, stranded miles away. The entire company was at a standstill. Daniel was pushing a cart of dishes when the CEO stormed past, her heels striking the floor like gunfire. "Anyone know how to fix this?" she demanded, holding her phone up, showing a screen of endless errors. Silence. Executives exchanged helpless glances. That's when someone muttered, "Ask him. He's always tinkering with the cafeteria computers." The words were a joke, but she turned toward him anyway. Daniel froze under her piercing gaze. "You," she said, walking closer, her presence like a sudden storm. "Can you fix it?" He swallowed hard. I've done small repairs before. At the cafeteria, nothing like this." The room erupted with scoffs. A dishwasher fixing a company server. Absurd. But desperation had a strange way of bending logic. The CEO crossed her arms, eyes sharp as steel. Then, in a voice laced with sarcasm and something else, "Challenge, maybe," she said it. "Fix the company server and I'll kiss you right now." The room gasped. A few laughed outright. Daniel's ears burned. Was this humiliation? A game? He almost walked away. But then he remembered his daughter's smile, her dream of becoming something more than what life had handed them. And in that moment, his pride didn't matter. Failure didn't matter. All that mattered was proving, to them, to her, to himself, that he was more than a dishwasher. He stepped forward. "Show me the server." They led him into the nerve center of the company, a glass enclosed room pulsing with blinking lights and silent machines. The air was cold, the hum of the servers filling the space like a distant growl. A cluster of tech specialists stood outside, looking nervous, waiting for their absent leader to arrive. Daniel stared at the racks of cables, the blinking error codes scrolling across screens. It looked like chaos, but beneath the surface there was a pattern. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to remember the nights he'd spent fixing old computers people had thrown away. It had started as a way to entertain his daughter, teaching her to take things apart and put them back together. Now, those nights might save him. He pulled off his work jacket and rolled up his sleeves. "I need tools and coffee." The CEO raised an eyebrow but nodded for someone to comply. Watching him, she seemed amused, maybe even impressed by his calmness. But behind her smirk was curiosity. Who was this man who dared accept such an impossible challenge? Daniel worked methodically, tracing cables, checking power sources, digging through error logs. His hands moved with quiet confidence, even as the executives whispered outside the glass, placing bets on how fast he'd fail. At one point, a senior VP smirked and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "What's next? Is he going to start washing the servers with soap?" Laughter followed, but Daniel ignored it. Minutes turned into an hour. Sweat clung to his forehead, but his mind was sharp, racing through possibilities. Then, like a flash, he saw it. A corrupted root file buried in the system, an overlooked update that had triggered the collapse. He patched in an external drive, wrote a script, and began the rebuild. The screen flickered. The red errors turned green. One by one, systems came back online, the executives fell silent, notifications pinned across the building as employees cheered, their work restored. The impossible had just happened. Daniel exhaled deeply, his heart pounding like a drum. He turned to the glass wall where the CEO stood, her arms still crossed, but her face now unreadable. Then, slowly, she walked in. The room was eerily quiet as the CEO stepped inside, her heels clicking against the tile like a countdown. For a moment, Daniel thought she might scold him for meddling, that maybe saving the company's entire system wasn't enough to redeem a dishwasher in their eyes. But then, she stopped just a few feet away and looked straight at him. The arrogance that had colored her tone earlier was gone. In its place was something colder, sharper, respect mixed with intrigue. "You did it," she said simply. Her voice was calm, but the words rippled through the glass like thunder. The executives outside shifted uncomfortably. A few even looked annoyed that a man they considered invisible had just saved their $1 million operation. Daniel wiped the sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. "It wasn't easy," he said softly, trying to keep his voice steady. "But it's done." She tilted her head slightly, as if reevaluating everything she thought she knew about him. "You know," she said, stepping closer, her eyes narrowing with a glimmer of amusement. "I made a promise." A ripple of laughter erupted from the glass wall where the executives were watching. Phones discreetly raised to record the moment. Daniel's face heated. He wasn't sure if they were mocking him or waiting for a show. His instinct screamed to walk away, to avoid becoming the punchline of a viral office video, but pride rooted him in place. "I didn't do it for that," he said quietly. "I know," she replied. Her voice softened, almost as if she was speaking only to him. "That's why it matters." Before he could respond, she closed the remaining distance and placed a quick, deliberate kiss on his cheek. Gasps echoed from the boardroom. A few executives clapped nervously, unsure if this was some sort of bizarre leadership exercise or a scandal in the making. Daniel stood frozen, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and disbelief. She pulled back, her expression unreadable but her voice steady as stone. "Clean yourself up, then meet me in my office." And with that, she walked out, leaving the room buzzing like a beehive. Daniel stared at the server, his reflection flickering on the screen. He hadn't just fixed a technical problem. He'd shifted the ground beneath everyone's feet, including his own. But why did she want to see him? Gratitude? A job offer? Or something else entirely? The CEO's office was nothing like the sterile boardroom. It was sleek, warm, with a skyline view that stretched like infinity. Daniel stepped inside, his palms damp, heart pounding. She was standing by the window, her silhouette framed by the setting sun. Without turning, she said, "You surprised me today." He hesitated near the door. "I didn't mean to cause a scene." She turned then, her expression calm but her eyes alive with curiosity. "You didn't cause a scene. You saved this company from a disaster that would have cost millions. And you did it without hesitation, without ego." She walked toward her desk and gestured for him to sit. "Why didn't you tell anyone you had those skills?" He gave a half shrug. "Because nobody asked." Her lips curled into the faintest smile. "That's the problem, isn't it? Nobody asks. They just assume." She leaned forward, her voice lowering slightly. "What do you want, Daniel? Not money, not the obvious. What do you really want?" The question caught him off guard. For years, his life had been about survival, rent, groceries, daycare. He'd buried dreams under piles of dirty dishes and broken routines. But now, sitting in the highest office of the building he used to mop floors for, something cracked open inside him. "I want a chance," he said finally. His voice was steady, clear. "Not a handout. Just a chance to do something that matters." For a long moment, she studied him, like she was reading a page no one else had bothered to turn. Then, she reached for a folder on her desk and slid it toward him. Inside was a job offer, a real position in the IT department. Not a token role, but a stepping stone to something greater. "You earned this," she said. "Not because of today, but because you showed what most people in this building never do. Courage under pressure." She stood, extending her hand. "Welcome to the team." Daniel stared at the papers, disbelief flooding his veins. For a second, he thought of his daughter, her laughter, her drawings on the fridge, her little voice asking, "Daddy, are you happy?" And for the first time in years, the answer felt like yes. As he shook her hand, he realized something profound. Life doesn't always give second chances, but when it does, you better be ready to take them. And Daniel had taken his. Outside the office, whispers spread like wildfire. Some people were jealous, some inspired. But Daniel didn't care. He wasn't the dishwasher anymore. He was a man who had fixed more than a server that day. He'd fixed his own future. And as he walked out, the city lights flickering against the night sky, one truth rang louder than the chaos that started it all. Sometimes the greatest victories come when no one expects you to win.